Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Laymen Daily Show. Well, E3 is over. I covered a few of them. I did the PlayStation Showcase, which is kind of E3 still. Did the Summer Games Fest, and I also did the Xbox Showcase. Look, some of them were really good. Some of them were pretty mid. Okay, some of them were pretty mid. But we did see some cool announcements. One of those announcements was, of course, Starfield. Starfield looks pretty amazing, actually. But there has been some news after the announcement that has got a lot of people talking. I haven't seen so many people divided in the gaming community for quite some time on this. I wanted to talk about this today. 30 FPS on Xbox Series X, which is interesting because I don't know where I stand with this. I kind of sit in both camps. Usually when I'll talk about a story, I'll kind of have a firm, like, this is the way. Very Mandalorian of me. But for this one, a bit different, I think. We've got some other news, reviews, and discussions. Got some, the Clockwork Revolution thing. Looks so much like Bioshock, right? And Microsoft has also come out and made statements on that. Got some AI stuff at the end. Got a few things today. All right, so let's get to the drop and let's get to the news. All this and more after the drop. All right. How's everyone in the chat? Everyone's good? Okay, let's just make sure I turn off the buttons, because every time I change over, I always forget to turn off the buttons. So, yes, Starfield looks incredible. There's no two ways about it. Starfield does look like the most ambitious project that we've seen for a long time in gaming, and it's probably looks like the most ambitious project I think I've ever seen from Bethesda, hands down. After it was announced, pretty much an hour or two after, a lot of stories started emerging that it was going to be 30 FPS on Xbox Series X, but it was going to be 60 FPS on PC if you have enough of a beast of a rig. But it's interesting because I think when you have a game like Starfield that is so incredibly ambitious and kind of giant, we always knew there was going to be sacrifices somewhere. But should those sacrifices be FPS? That's the question today, folks. Now, as we've seen recently, of course, with Bethesda, not too recently, the two major games I can think of in the last month or two that really had FPS issues are Redfall and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, they're two separate games and they kind of exist in separate camps of why they didn't achieve FPS or why it's okay that one or the other didn't. But one thing's for sure. Starfield definitely feels like it has now missed a feature, not having 60 FPS. And I'll get to that in a second. But Redfall, right? They promised 60 FPS, and then they started changing the back of all the packaging and stuff, saying, no, it's not 60 FPS, it's only 30 FPS. And that of course pissed off a lot of people because they promised that at the beginning. There was no transparency pretty much right up to the launch that it wasn't going to really happen. They couldn't get it to work. So that was a huge backlash. So FPS, in terms of Bethesda, you know, it certainly didn't go their way, all right? Especially when you're going to be, promoting that it is going to be 60 FPS, and then you suddenly change your mind because you can't get it to work. And then once it's out, now you start, we're going to get it there, I promise. We're going to try our best. And then when it doesn't actually get there, a lot of people are like, well, hang on, like, why promise it in the first place? Isn't it better to be transparent? Well, this is what Starfield is doing. They're being transparent here. They're trying to just, tell you honestly before the game comes out. The moment they've done a deep dive reveal, they want to tell you that it's going to be 30 FPS instead of 60 FPS. The other game that is similar is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, that was always going to run at 30 FPS. All right, we knew that. Now, there are, of course, games that do run at 60 FPS on Switch, but like Super Smash Bros., for instance. But Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, it's a huge, ambitious project. And of course, we expect, it's 7-year-old hardware. Like, we kind of expect that very well will be in the camp of the 30 FPS. That didn't even run at 30 FPS. That didn't even run at 30 FPS. I remember doing the Fire Temple, and it was running at 18 frames per second or something, or like 10 frames per second, man. And there was backlash there. There was absolutely backlash. So it's not a question of, is it going to be a certain FPS? It's really about, are you going to meet whatever FPS you've promised us, right? Redfall promised 60 FPS. Zelda promised 30 FPS. And both of those didn't deliver. And then, you know, the byproduct of that is everyone revolts. Gamers revolt. But here's the thing, right? People didn't really care that much, I think, when you started playing Zelda, when you started experiencing it and seeing how huge and amazing and how ambitious this project is. And I think that if you are going to be creating a game like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom where you're trying to one-up a masterpiece, which was Breath of the Wild, and that's no easy feat, right? And I think that once you play that, you start to forgive certain things and certain features, if we're going to call FPS a feature, you can start being a bit more forgiving. Now with Starfield, I think that what we saw from the 38 minutes or 40-minute showcase is it is probably the biggest game that I've seen Bethesda do. It's one of the most ambitious titles I think I've ever seen, as I said at the start. And as I said, I knew that we were going to see some sort of concessions, I guess, in what we were going to expect here and what we were going to be able to fully experience. It's much better for a game at the beginning of when it's going to be released to just be honest, transparency. As I've said it before in previous shows, devs, it's far better to just tell us openly and honestly about where it's at. Now, I'm not giving Starfield a pass for not being able to meet the 60 FPS. Phil Spencer recently on a podcast, which I'll show you in a second, came out and said it was a creative choice for them to ultimately focus on the things that they wanted to focus on in terms of fidelity and all that kind of stuff. It was just going to be much more easily managed, the whole game in its entirety on Xbox Series X, to be beating that 30 FPS instead of that 60 FPS. I'm not giving it a pass per se, but what I am saying is I think FPS is a case-by-case situation. It's a case-by-case basis. And I'm not being a hypocrite by saying, well, you know, and ripping on Redfall for being like, you didn't get to 60 FPS. It's not really like that. I think it really depends on each particular game, what they're promising at the beginning, what it looks like aesthetically. I mean, Redfall looked like a fucking PS3 game. You know, this doesn't look like that. This is definitely trying to push the bounds about how big this world can be. I mean, as Todd Howard did say, it was going to be 1,000 worlds or something. God knows how true that is. But we can expect this to be, again, this is going to be a giant experience. And it's kind of like they're damned, the devs are damned if they do and damned if they don't. I think if they don't put in 60 FPS and they're honest about it, everyone's going to rip on them. If they try and do 60 FPS and then it falls over and it doesn't actually work and it's a buggy mess or it's just glitching all the time or it's so, you know, it's 1 minute 60, 1 minute 20, 1 minute 40 FPS, then, you know, people will find problems with that too. So what is the best route for them, right? What is the best route? I personally think the best route is, of course, to tell the gamers the honest truth. This is where they're at. This is, this is what they want to do for creative reasons or whatever. And at least before we purchase the game, we know exactly what to expect. Although it is disappointing. It is disappointing to expect, you know, the most powerful console ever. Xbox Series X, the most powerful console ever. 120 on Halo. Yeah. Starfield, 30 FPS. Is disappointing. It is. You know, people have invested a lot into this hardware. And Starfield was one of those games where people, in the long term, were definitely looking to invest in the Xbox ecosystem. But, you know, damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they came out and said, you know what, guys, it's going to be the second coming of Jesus, it's going to be amazing, all the features you could ever hope for, like No Man's Sky did. Remember No Man's Sky? They promised everything. I mean, you could throw any question and No Man's Sky would be like, yeah, we've got it in there. Yeah, are we going to see Jesus Christ come back resurrected? Yeah, of course. He's going to be in the game. Yeah, cool. No worries. Yep. There could be time travel in real life if you play the game. Yeah, of course there is. Come play the game. They promised everything and anything. From co-op to different types of other mechanics in there to fucking 60 FPS. And I don't even think that ran at 60 FPS. And then when that came out, it was a giant meme. And it took years and years and years to recover. It took years, man, to recover. You know? But another thing is, should fucking 60 FPS be a standard feature on consoles, AAA experiences? Again, it depends. I think 9 times out of 10, yes. I would much prefer a 60 FPS experience and see a little bit of graphical fidelity be sacrificed than play a game at 30 FPS. Personally. But there are going to be games like this where, as we've seen from the trailer, this is one hell of an undertaking from what we've seen. And if it's anything, if the game is anything like what this is, then we cannot sit there and expect everything to be delivered exactly like we would like. There's going to be some shortcomings. There's going to be some stuff that we can't get, you know? So, you know, I personally would like to see in the future some sort of undertaking that we are going to see this at 60 FPS in the future. But I don't think that's on the cards. Doesn't really seem, from what I've seen, that's on the cards. I haven't seen any commentary around it's going to be 30 FPS at launch. It's kind of like it's 30 FPS, folks. That's it. You know? But transparency wins every time, man. Transparency wins every time. If they weren't honest about this, right? If they just came out and were like, guys, it's going to be fucking amazing. Oh my God. 60 FPS? 400 FPS. And then you play it, you're like, what the fuck? You know, there's going to be backlash. But the backlash of this is smaller than the backlash of Bethesda and Xbox's most important title that I can think of since the Halo franchise. This is the most important game that we've seen from them for a number of reasons. Primarily because this is the future of a lot of people's excitement and hopes in the Xbox ecosystem on the console. Yes, it's coming to PC also. But this is a glimpse of some of the brilliance that we may continue to see from Xbox if they continue to work on really high quality exclusives that make people really hyped to be part of the ecosystem of Xbox, right? So are we giving Starfield a pass here? All right, that's the other thing. Are we giving Starfield a bit of a pass? Based on the merits of what we've seen, I think, you know, a lot of these discussions I think I have on here, it's always like, this is right, this is wrong, or I try and be in the middle if I can and whatever. It's always good to see as many different perspectives as possible. I don't want to just like clickbait, rage bait you guys. Bethesda, what the fuck? Bethesda at it again? 30 FPS? Fuck that shit. We're not giving it a pass. We're looking at the entire product in its entirety. And I think we're looking at something that is going to be quite extraordinary if any of what we've seen is correct. Now, all we can do is go off what we've seen. And we've seen time and time again with previous games, they promise us the world or they show us this brilliant world. We jump in and there's problems abroad, right? But if we're going to be an optimist here, then we have to then be open to the idea that this is going to be quite brilliant from what we've seen. And because of that, if there's going to be transparency from the devs and they are going to be locking it at 30 FPS, it is a feature we are missing now and it's disappointing. Most people want to play this on console if they've got an Xbox, right? Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying, right? If you've got an Xbox, you want to put it to work. I haven't turned my Xbox on since Jesus was a boy. I'm using a lot of Jesus references today. You see that? Christian channel. But, you know, we're not giving them a pass. We're ultimately seeing, I think, on the merits of the product that we're hoping that it'll be. And if it delivers on all those promises, I think the FPS question will be a very small part of any review process. I think it'll be a very small part of the gaming community's discussions online. And the game, if it does turn out to be a masterpiece and turn out to be brilliant, it will be a footnote in what anyone really cares about the game. But I've said before, I really do like the idea that AAA experiences, when they're coming out, high quality AAA from big studios, we want them to be 60 FPS. We hope that this is not continuing to be a thing in the next 20 years. But seemingly it is, you know, like seemingly it is. All these consoles talk about 120 FPS or 60 FPS, of course, for all their AAA or most of their AAA experiences. And then more and more times that these games come out, they decide graphics over performance, you know, because it sells better. You know, like it sells better. If you're a dev and you're trying to put a game together and you're trying to put some sort of trailer together, what looks cooler? Smooth 60 or fucking amazing graphics? You know, like I get it to a point where they're trying to show how amazing this game can look, but sometimes they fall over in terms of how amazing the game will actually perform, you know? But guys, that's kind of my take on that. I want to start with that because I think that I've seen a lot of discussions on that. It's somewhat nuanced what I've said today in terms of it's not a yes, it's not a no. It's like it depends on each game. It depends on the merits of what they're actually going to be presenting. It depends on how big and amazing this world is and how revolutionary it is for a Bethesda game, how much it competes in the ecosystem. Well, not in the ecosystem, but how much it just competes in general in gaming. If it is going to be a phenomenon and everything is delivered that we are hoping for, and the only concession is that it's going to be a 30 FPS game, I'm all for it. Let's just see what it's like, you know? 60 FPS should not be mandatory. It should be aimed for. It should be aimed for every time, you know? That's just my thoughts. Okay. F12 Design says, you're right. Oh, shucks. Oh, God. Thanks, mate. Of course I am. Now, everyone, I welcome everyone else's thoughts on here, you know? Understanding says, I say do both. Push the boundaries. Look, a lot of games want to push the boundaries, and of course they want to try and push the boundaries if they can in terms of making a game the fidelity of a game look amazing, as well as the FPS looking as smooth as hell. That's the dream, but naturally you can't always get there, you know. Super Genius, 60 FPS or bust. Definitely some people out there that feel that. Again, certain games you just really want to be playing at 60 FPS, right? Like Doom. Imagine playing... Wait, I played Doom at 30 FPS actually on Switch, and then I played it on PC. It's a fucking dramatically different experience, right? But that's like a different thing, you know? Yes, it's an FPS, and you can play this in first person and third person, but it's like a different thing, you know? So it's a case by case, I think. Tears of the Kingdom runs on a potato, Kato says. Yes, it does. And I wonder if Tears of the Kingdom would have had these same issues if Switch 2 or Super Switch did come out. Well, if it did come out, I don't think Tears of the Kingdom would have had such issues. A Sonist, what if Redfall gets 60 FPS update and steals Game of the Year? Man, I'm ready for it. All right, if it gets Game of the Year from getting 60 FPS update, every game will be like, holy shit, it's a must. We've got to do it. We've got to be a giant meme, then release ourselves again with 60 FPS. Booyah. And then we just win Game of the Year. That's the way to do it. Ah, dear. Lastly, Ender says, first person, I think 60 matters that much more, but would like it every time. Yeah. We want it every time. But every game, case-by-case situation, we have to kind of look at it in its entirety and go, okay, cool, is this something that we should focus on so much that we think it's going to destroy the experience? From what we've seen, maybe it's not going to. We jump in and it does feel terrible at 30 FPS, or it's even then struggling to be 30 FPS and we're seeing, you know, frame rates at 10 FPS, then that is going to hurt the experience massively, I think. And actually, lastly, this is what Phil Spencer said in an interview regarding that.
This year, Starfield is the big thing. Today we confirmed it's 4K 30 on console. Do you guys feel like gamers got used to 60 frames per second, and that's going to be a hard bargain to make with them, or do you guys feel confident that they're going to get it when they're playing it?
I've been playing Starfield since November.
All right, you don't go brag about it.
No, it's not a brag. It's not a brag. It is a little bit brag, but and the gameplay's great. And you know, at some point, not to get all geeky about it, but there's render time per frame, and teams can either want to like go horizontal or go kind of deep on a frame, and I think it's a creative choice. We obviously have games that are running at 4K 60 on the platform. It's not a platform issue. It's a creative decision.
Halo 120.
Yeah, and I think I trust what BGS, the decisions they make, and I trust what I'm playing. And we've handed the controller on a console to people here, and had them play. Done the same thing with Forza, and I don't ever want us to turn playing games into a math exercise. Yeah. That as players we say, hey, you know, if the song doesn't have this number of tracks or the game, and I'm not saying that 60 or resolution don't impact what you play, but I don't think we want that to turn into an Excel thing.
Right.
I think you want to give the creatives the tools to make the best decisions,
Right.
and the game will be what it is. I think Starfield's going to be a great game, and I love the reception today, and I don't want to kind of force specs on every game before they start.
I think that's an interesting point before I finish on this, before we go to the other news, is that's very true. We don't want to start making certain developers feel like there's a checklist that they must meet when the creative process is quite unique in the way of video games, right? I mean, if you look at video movies, it's 24 frames per second across the board most of the time. Now, we did see movies like The Hobbit that did 60 frames per second. It just looked weird, right? That was a creative choice. They can do it if they want. But games is different, right? Because it's definitely dealing with performance issues while trying to create a vision and being creative in a space that you develop a world and you exist in, right? And I think that it's very important to allow those devs to still be able to have make their own calls. Now, we've seen before with Bethesda making their own calls with Redfall, it didn't work out. We're not excusing that. But I think overall, the umbrella, idea should be, if you still as a developer feel like you should not have to definitely meet 60 FPS for every single game you release ever. It doesn't always work that way, Each game is going to be somewhat different. In other news, Phil Spencer in this same interview said this regarding day one for PC games and Xbox exclusive games.
Ships day one on PC, right? Which is something we do that not everybody does, right? So
day one on PC, and this will be I don't know if people love this statement. Like, we don't look at the PC audience as a window, right? It's a market. It's a market that we believe deserves our games day one, and that's where we're going to ship our games. It's not about like later on I'm going to sell you those games so that something else happens. Yeah. Like, we see the PC market, we can do a better job with the Xbox app and the work that we have, but our games library and even our investments in things like Bethesda was because of their PC heritage and what they can mean.
Ooh, you're throwing shade a bit at Sony. It's like we feel like they deserve them day one too. I think that this is a bit of marketing talk, a bit of like, look at how great Xbox is. The reason I think that they do this is because they ultimately feel like they need to do it to try and compete in as many spaces as possible, because they're not competing against PlayStation on console. Like, it's as simple as that. I mean, you can't look at this market and go, you know what, Xbox, man, woohoo, you better watch out, PlayStation. It's not really like that anymore. Maybe it was like that in the 360 days. You know what I'm saying? 10 years now has gone by and you can't feel like Xbox has been nipping at the heels of Sony for a long time now. So this is more, I think, just a way for them to try and compete in as many ways and in any way as possible in the gaming space. Get people to play in the Xbox ecosystem regardless of where they are. That's what my personal take. To make it sound like we think that, they deserve a day one, folks. Come on, Phil. I think that's a bit of a lie. Anyway. This is weird. Now, did you guys see this? This came out when Diablo was released. And Megan Fox was doing this weird thing where she would, call out your deaths or something. And, of course, the internet went wild for this.
If there's one thing I love, it's the sight of blood. And in Diablo 4, there are rivers of it. Show me your worst endgame death with hashtag Diablo Deaths, and you might get a eulogy from yours truly, telling the world that you went out like a hero. Or a chump.
What the hell is this shit, right? Well, someone did get one. Dr. Lupo got one, and this is what he said. This is what she said after he died.
Oh, Dr. Lupo. Not even the best doctor could save you now. Enjoy your insides on the outside from now on.
I mean, I guess. I guess. It's like... It got some attention on Diablo. Everyone is they're just looking at Diablo. What are you talking about? They're just focusing on Diablo. That's all I'm looking at. Just Diablo. What are you guys looking at? Jesus Christ. What's wrong with you guys? It's a PG channel. Jesus. Cooper said also, the people over at Sony would never let first-party games get released at 30 FPS only. I understand what you're saying. For PS5? Yep, I understand. Absolutely. But again, if there was a game that came along that PlayStation 5 thought it was a brilliant game, and it was going to be pushing the bounds of certain kind of genres, or it was going to be kind of showing something to the industry that demanded it was going to be at 30 FPS, I wonder if they would make that choice. You know, and I can't think off the top of my head of all the exclusives, if there's anything that has been released under 60 FPS. But I do believe you're right, actually, Cooper. I think that everything that they have released has been 60. I do believe that you are right there. But in other news, man, I've been playing so much Diablo. It's a freaking joke, right? Now, this world boss takes about 10 minutes to kill, all right? It takes about 10 minutes to kill. Now, these people are soloing world bosses. Now, look at this thing. It takes me and a team of 12 people to kill this thing in 10 minutes. This guy did it in a minute. Whoa. You can't really see it that way. I mean, how in the hell is he doing that? Look at all that crit damage.
Get back over here. Stop moving. Stop moving.
Oh my god.
Stop moving. You son of a bitch. God,
that is insane. That feels like a broken mechanic. Like, holy shit, man.
It moved. Okay, 1 second. Let me ramp again.
I'm lucky
I need
to get
I need re-rampage.
a crit of 80,000 ever so often with my
again.
Bone Spirit Necromancer. This guy's getting 300,000, like... It's fucked. Crazy. Crazy, man. Anyone that's been playing Diablo, I have made a little clan. There's about 10 of us now. It's called PTYLTD. Join if you like. Come on down. We can do dungeons together. We can play all sorts of games. World bosses, all that kind of stuff. Jump in. In other news, Diablo 4 has generated $666 million in revenue in its first 5 days. That is huge. This is the fastest selling Blizzard game ever. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy, right? And I'm not even saying this unironically. I'm saying this unironically. I think Diablo 4 is going to be huge. Hear me out. The previous ways that Diablo would release is play the game, and then a expansion would come out, and then that would be like 2 years later, or maybe at least a year or two later, right? It would play it, and then like that was it, right? The model here that they've got, they want to be doing new content every 3 months or something. There's going to be a lot of content, right? And I think that this is probably going to break the mold of only the hardcore people continuing to play. I think a lot of more casual people that just love that kind of in-game grind, like Destiny, for instance, or whatever, they're going to stick around for a lot longer here. Like, truly, I really think that people are going to stick around longer for this. I cannot put this game down. I think the end game is... Okay, I have some issues with the end game. I wouldn't mind doing a video on that, actually. Just like where it feels like it's too repetitive and where I feel like I'm getting a little bit like, But all in all, I'm still very much enjoying it. And I think that this new way that every 3 months we can expect new content, a lot more people are going to stick around. So I don't know if you guys have heard of Diablo 4, but it's going to be big. All right, check it out. Check it out, folks. All right. In other news, now I want to cover this because I'm a big believer in extraterrestrial life. Right? Whistleblower claims US government has intact and partially intact non-human craft. Now, do you guys remember Bob Lazar? Bob Lazar did an interview in 1989 talking about his time working at Area 51 or Grim Lake, the S4 next to Area 51. Talking about him working on certain crafts, trying to figure out anti-gravity propulsion, right? There was multiple crafts apparently that they had, the US government had, and this whistleblower now is like a high up CIA or intelligence official or something. His name is David Grush. David Grush. There is no chance in hell. Okay, when someone asks you, is there alien life? It's not a philosophical question. It's not even anything to do with religion, I don't think. You know, it's nothing to do with anything. It's purely a mathematical question. If the universe is forever expanding, if it is 93 billion light years across, or whatever it is, something like that. If there's billions and trillions and quadrillions and Googleplex or whatever, the amount of stars out there. You think we're the only ones? It's almost like an impossibility that we're the only ones out here. I was watching this thing recently where this scientist was like asked if there's any life in the universe, and she said, well, the amount of space that we've looked at in the Milky Way is equal to the amount of if we were to pick up a glass and take some water out of the ocean and look at the glass, and this is just the Milky Way, and look at the glass and say, well, there's no fish in this glass, so there's no life in the ocean. It's the same idea. I absolutely think that there's extraterrestrial life, and if there was a civilization that was 10 million years more advanced than us, God knows what kind of propulsion systems they would have. God knows how many ways that they would have figured out to kind of break the speed of light, which is 362,000 kilometers per second, something like that, give or take. There's no way that we are alone, folks, okay? And if we are alone, that is just as scary. But can you imagine if the government did come out and say, you know what, guys, we're not alone. And our next speaker is Alien Zorblog, and he just wants to say a few things. The entire civilization would crumble. Not crumble, but people would like stop going to work, religious sects and what, like sect, not sex, sext. You know what I'm trying to say. Religious cults, there we go, would go crazy. Civilization would just like buckle under the weight of like this new news. Economies would suffer. It would just be, it would be massive. And this is probably the reason why the US government doesn't want to be showing this shit, man. It makes sense. Stephen Jones says there has to be other life out there. Other life is like absolutely. Other intelligent life, a very, very, very good chance. Very good chance. I mean, there's only a few... there's a few things you need to be able to have life, right? A certain type of climate in terms of you need an atmosphere. I think you do need a moon. You do need to be in the Goldilocks zone. You need water. Other things that we need, but I think they're like the major things that we need. Of course, minerals and, you know, the building blocks of life. And because I think we started in one of those hot springs, and those hot springs was the right formula for certain molecules to bind together, and then booyah, there we are. So I don't think it's, in terms of how many would be out there, I don't think it would be that crazy to see millions, if not billions, of different life forms out there. Anyway, but I digest. In other news, Coca-Cola launches first gaming flavor. Tastes like XP. Soda companies have been collaborating with gaming brands for years, but Coca-Cola has remained out of the picture until now. The soda giant recently announced that it's partnering with League of Legends in producing a limited edition flavor of its ultimate zero sugar soda, which is dubbed Plus XP for the taste of experience points. Well, it's not in Australia, but I do think it's in like the US, it's in the UK, it's in a few places. UK, Canada, China, South Korea, Latin America, and Africa. We didn't get it. We're not cool enough. I see how it is, Coke. Fair enough. I guess I'll stick to the other Coke then. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. If you guys want to jump in and taste this abomination, you absolutely can, if you're in the particular areas. And I also think that you get to sign up to like the Cool Club or something. It's like some sort of Coca-Cola gaming club. If you're a cool kid, you've got to sign up for the Coca-Cola Club for gamers. Got to do it. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Not even about the extraterrestrial question. Like, what are we doing here? If we're not signed up for Coca-Cola's gaming club, guys, come on, we're not cool. Universal is reportedly closing a deal to make The Legend of Zelda Movie. It would be Illumination's next big film. Look, there's no two ways about it. Super Mario Bros. Movie was fantastic. They did a very good job. We are absolutely going to see more and more movies out there now from the Nintendo universe and also just the gaming universe. I don't know how they do Zelda, though. Like, we haven't heard Link talk. Like, it doesn't really matter. All we heard from Mario was like, Mamma Mia. You know, like, you can make it work. Chris Pratt's going to be busy, man. He's going to be doing Link. He's going to be doing Ganondorf. He's going to be doing Mario. He's going to be doing Samus. Even if she's a girl, he'll play her. He'll be fine. But I'm interested to see what this is going to be like. But this is going to be this has to be different DNA. This has to be a different style. It can't be the same shit, right? Can't be the same like Super Mario Bros. Movie-esque vibe. It needs to be different. You know? Gavin House, hope there's a hot alien woman. Well, firstly, thank you very much for being a member. I appreciate that. And secondly, Rule 34, man, I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure it's out there. In other news, a scene from the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was created by a 14-year-old boy. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, right? If you haven't seen the film, maybe I won't show it then, but he actually put a particular scene in the movie, and it was so professional, right? And man, I just can't believe that a 14-year-old kid did this. Like, it's amazing what he did. And for him to be able to work on this movie, this is just huge resume stuff for him. Great stuff for the CV, let me tell you. You know, he did such a good job. It was only like 30 seconds to like a minute or something that it was like the Lego world of Spider-Man. But I thought that was a really feel-good story, man. I mean, he obviously does fantastic stuff on YouTube, and he was able to work with them. And when I saw that, I didn't even realize that they would kind of recruit talent, a 14-year-old kid. But man, it's good shit, man. It was, and the movie itself was so good. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Definitely worth seeing. Absolutely. In other news, Ninja is currently doing his first stream on Kick. Now, this is a few days ago, right? This is a few days ago. But that's kind of interesting because I feel like Mixer was a bit of a meme, right? It never really competed, right? What was the other one? There's another one that tried to compete. And then Twitch just feels like no one was really competing with them, and it was just going to be forever Twitch. Kick has grown 300% in the first 3 months or something like that. And it's getting people like Ninja. It's getting huge other people that in the streaming community to start streaming on there. It is blowing up. If it continues to market itself correctly for being a very pro streaming platform like it has been, and also just knowing how to talk to gamers, which sounds a bit like, but like there's a way to talk to gamers, right? And Kick just kind of is doing it right. Meanwhile, Twitch is coming out and being like, any ads, any burn-in ads? No way. Any additional way for our creators to make money? No. Twitch has lost its mind, man. I don't know if we're going to see Twitch's dominance the same in the next year or so, right? I don't think Twitch is going to go anywhere, but I wonder if it's going to be the dominant platform the next 2 years if Kick continues on this trajectory. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. In other news, very important video. I've got to show you this because people are having fun with Street Fighter. They're having fun. They're putting the game to work. That's all I'm saying. All right. They're just putting the game to work. I still haven't played this, man. I just keep playing fucking Diablo 4. But I do want to play Street Fighter 6. I do want to play Street Fighter 6. Now I won't do a review of it. It's kind of it's kind of gone now, right? But I probably will do some sort of endgame talk actually on Diablo. I wouldn't mind doing that. Jeff Keighley said in an Xbox panel after the event, Matt Booty said their goal is to have 4 first-party games a year. Why don't we just start with one, Xbox? Why don't we just start with one? Just, let's just mix it up a bit. Put one out last year. I know you can say grounded and stuff, but I'm talking about AAA. Xbox, when you're setting goals, what you do is you start small and then allow that small goal to grow, right? So maybe just do one a year. Maybe just do half one. Maybe just a demo of a new game. Maybe you can just do that. What do you reckon? They do have Starfield coming out this year. They did have Redfall come out this year. Wait, was Redfall? Yeah, Redfall was, of course, exclusive. That was the big thing that happened. They took it away from PlayStation. All those PlayStation players, man, they're just devastated. Oh, man, they didn't get to play Redfall. Oh, man. What a shame. Ah, mercy. Good times. And I've been seeing this trend. This guy is so talented. It's Michael Jackson if he was training for a boxing fight. You come here for the good content, folks. Oh man. Oh, that's good times. In other news, I found someone found data mining in ARPG. Said, I found evidence that World Tier 5 exists. I'm still in World Tier 3. I'm level 60. I'm trying desperately to try and get into World Tier 4. I've actually been like literally approaching people, being like, can you just carry me? I want to experience World Tier 4, please. But I haven't got there yet. But I'm just doing like Grim Whispers and stuff like that. Like I'm not really doing as much as I could, I guess, to get me leveling as fast as possible. I'm just doing things that like I enjoy doing in game, right? But there is apparently a World Tier 5. Apparently. I don't know if that's like a DLC thing. That makes sense, right? This is going to be like something that comes out in the next 6 months or year or so. But God only knows what kind of gear you'd find in World Tier 5. Because I remember World Tier 4 is unique and World Tier 3 is sacred items. What do you get in World Tier 5? I don't know. Immortal. There it is. You get immortal items. Diablo Immortal. Mortal items. Tell you what, I should be part of their marketing department. In other news, so Cyberpunk's expansion totally overhauls the original game. AI, skills, perks, vehicles, police. Baffling how this was undersold. This is kind of interesting, right? So as we saw from the original game, it was a success, but there was a lot of bugs, and it was kind of a meme, right? And I did say that it was a good game. Like, it was an amazing game, but it just fell over from how bad the performance was. If only they came out like Starfield and said it was going to be 30 FPS. It wasn't even that. It was just the bugs and everything, right? In Phantom Liberty, they didn't really tell us until after the show that so many of the kind of systems in this game are going to be completely overhauled. Such as AI, skills, perks, vehicles, police, and other things, right? What's crazy to me is why wouldn't they put that in? The only reason I think that they wouldn't put that in is maybe they felt a little bit sheepish from how their previous game came out. And they didn't want to promise the world and not deliver. That could be it, right? That kind of makes sense. Like when you are overhauling pretty much everything or a lot of things in a game, wouldn't that be part of your marketing push? Or at least be part of the stuff that you show in the trailer, you know? Interesting that they didn't really want to show that or talk about that at that moment, and now it's only been talked about through Twitter, like through articles and stuff. Doesn't seem to be coming from official channels. I would have expected some sort of trailer with a detailed deep dive into how different Phantom Liberty is going to be compared to the previous one with all the different changes to all the systems and stuff. But I would suspect that maybe they just feel like they promised too much last time and they didn't want to do it again. That's probably what's going on here, folks. In other news, Xbox says they are currently working on 5,000 games in development for the Xbox platform. Oh man, there's so many games. So many to choose from. So many first-party exclusives. They're just coming out. Man, guys, got a huge backlog. I can't play any PlayStation games. Got to play all these 5,000 games that are apparently in the works. Look, I have no doubt that there's a lot of games in the works, but 5,000? Jesus. Are we just going to see a massive dump of games? Like, I know you guys have been waiting 12 years. Ugh. There you go. There's something to play finally. A reason to own the Xbox. Yeah, and Ender says, define working on. Exactly right. I don't understand that, right? Working on. Are they just like, oh, you know, it'd be a kind of cool game, like a fighting game, but it's set in like medieval times. Yeah, okay, we're working on that then. Yeah, cool. You know, it'd be kind of cool game. It's like, you're searching for aliens, you know? And then you realize that they're on Earth. Oh, yeah, cool. That's a cool game. And I mean, like, fuck, who knows what it means by, you know, 16 times the detail, 5,000 times the detail. I want to see what these games are. Got no idea what these are. Now, this is actually a decent story. Bethesda's Todd Howard says that the Elder Scrolls 6 might be the last in the series that he makes. But Todd, how are we going to make fun of you? No. We never make... Well, okay, we love to meme on Todd, okay? But he's kind of like an institution. He's not even like a person at this point. He's bigger than that. He's attained higher status than an individual, you know? But for him to leave after Elder Scrolls. I wonder what it would do to the DNA, the fabric of Bethesda. What kind of games we would see after that? What kind of ideas would spring forward? Be interesting times to see that. But maybe the end is near for Todd Howard for Bethesda. Would be kind of sad in a way, because then we wouldn't have someone on stage wearing that leather jacket saying 16 times the detail. And Fallout 76 is going to be incredible, and enhanced weather designs, and it's going to be like the best game that they've ever made, and then they bring it out and it's not. Maybe that's going to happen with Bethesda, with Starfield. A little bit worried, but optimistic. That's what you got to be. Worried, but optimistic. Now, this is something, right? So, if you guys saw this trailer, now, Microsoft responds to Clockwork's Revolution Bioshock Infinite similarities. Now, look at this goddamn thing. You're telling me that there wasn't any inspiration? You're telling me there wasn't any inspiration from Bioshock Infinite? Come on. Even the music, man. I mean, look at it. It is the most Bioshock shit I've ever seen in my life. And then Microsoft comes out and is like, well, guys, let me tell you, any similarities was just unintentional. Please. They said any similarities are unintentional. Players will be able to fully customize their own main characters in the game. Well, Xbox, you could have also fully customized what you wanted to show us, and you decided to customize it exactly like Bioshock Infinite. I mean, the similarities are striking. Exhibit A, folks. So, look, there's some similarities here with the statue, which you can't really see because my ugly head's there. But also just like, yeah, I mean, look at this shit, man. I mean, there's a lot of things that look a lot like Bioshock. To say this is not Bioshock, it's crazy. Tuned, delicately balanced. I honestly thought it was Bioshock Infinite too. I swear to God, when I saw it, I'm like, holy shit, they're doing it. It's one of my favorite games. It looks more yeah. Junkari, I completely agree. It looks more Bioshock than Bioshock itself. Man.
If you resist my rule.
Just watch this thing for a second, man. Like, what the fuck were they thinking?
If you alter our past, if you threaten what I have built, there is nowhere in space or time where I will not destroy you.
It is the most Bioshock shit I've ever seen in my life.
Oh no. What did I do?
Yeah, what did you do, Microsoft? Bad.
Any last words?
Any last words? Yes, make your own game, Microsoft. How about that? How about make your own game? It's like League of Legends coming out and going, any similarities to a MOBA was unintentional. Any similarities to Dota was unintentional. Soz. My bad. Fortnite, any similarities to PUBG's style in terms of the game itself? Unintentional. This is a joke. Anyway, I thought I'd throw that in because that was a meme. Now, this is ridiculous. Now, if this is going to get demonetized, whatever, but I don't give a fuck, okay? Kanye's birthday last night. He had some poor woman. He hired a woman to sit there naked while people ate off, like they ate sushi off her. I don't usually throw this shit in, but like, I'm sorry. If I had billions of dollars, hundreds of millions, or even $1 million, even $1, I would not put someone through this. Why are you doing this to people? I'm sorry, but it's so demeaning. Like, what the fuck, man? Kanye West is a musical genius, but he's also crazy. He's freaking crazy, man. This is the crazy shit he does. What the hell? I hope she got paid very well. All right. Hopefully she got paid very well. But I just don't want this to start being a trend where like all the celebrities are like, yes, I'm having a party tonight. I'm actually going to have 4 naked people you can eat off. Ridiculous. Now the news, the update. The Federal Trade Commission has released a statement after announcing today that it has requested a temporary restraining order to prevent Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Things are heating up. They're trying to make sure that it doesn't go through. The thing is, will they go forward if they can't participate in certain regions? I don't... Look, if they can't participate in terms of being able to sell games for Activision Blizzard in the US, that's a deal killer, right? Now, the UK does, as I said before, does represent 11% of Activision Blizzard's revenue. 11%, decent amount. Maybe not enough for them to care. Okay, it's enough for them to care, but I don't know if it's enough for them to definitely not seriously consider it. You know, seriously consider it. Anyway, we've covered this a lot. We don't have to go through this again, but this is just a little update. So it looks like it's heating up, and the US are really, or the FTC, are really trying to hold off on making sure that it doesn't go through. In other news, now, you guys, we've done the AI game today. Oh, wait, we've done the AI game before. This is a different game today. I want to show you a photo. You got to tell me which one's the real Tom Cruise. Okay, ready? Which is the real Tom Cruise? You guys saying this? Now I'll come back with the answer. You might not like the answer. All right, I'm gonna come back. Which one's the real Tom Cruise? 2 of them are his stunt doubles, and the other one may be him, maybe just a third stunt double. Here's the answers. Here's the question. Is it AI? Are they all stunt doubles? Or is one of them Tom Cruise? All right, you let me know. Okay. In other news, which was going to be an entire story, but I might cover this in more detail another day if I want to, but maybe I'll just do it now. In other news, Overwatch 2. Actually, you know what? I might do this tomorrow. Because I really want to spend some time on this, because it's already 52 minutes. And let's do this tomorrow then, and we'll talk more about Overwatch. Because Overwatch sucks. But in the meantime, look at this thing. What the hell is this thing? Look at this.
A long time ago at Lady
AI is getting crazy, man.
Party, which is
in the smoking ruins and ashes of New York City.
A fierce woman ain't playing no games and is out to kick some butts.
Against the unimaginable, brutal, merciless, and scary.
Look at this, man. Imagine the filters that we're going to have on smartphones and shit in the future, like this guy says here.
And everything seems doomed and lost until
a super handsome man arises, the true hero and great mastermind behind all of this.
How crazy is that, man? How crazy is that? What the fuck, man? What the fuck? All right. What is the truth? What is the truth here? Is he all AI? Is 2 of them stunt doubles and one of them is Tom Cruise? They're all AI generated. Guys, this is getting fucking hard, right? It's an AI generated photo. That's crazy. I mean, AI game is one of my fun games because it is getting increasingly hard. I remember starting at the beginning, like when we started like 2 months ago. You know, you kind of, but like now they're getting hard. Like now I'm like, holy shit. If you could be on a dating app and in the future you'll need to have like a verified not AI photo. I swear to God that shit's gonna happen, man. Or like some sort of, you know, you're on YouTube and you're doing a show and this is all AI generated, and there's gonna be like a little badge that says not AI or a badge that says AI generated filter. You know? Because I just didn't want to show how actually good looking I am. You know, I just wanted to show this like more ugly style. You know, this is all AI, folks. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be all sorts of shit like that in the future where people just, they don't know what's going to be real or not. It's going to be crazy. You know what else is going to happen? Some like politician is going to say like the N-word or something, and then they're going to be like, folks, it was AI. What? I didn't say that. That's going to happen, man. I swear to God, all this shit is going to be crazy. And the amount of people that are going to just like sidestep anything that they actually said and just blame it on AI. Or certain photos are going to come out and people are like, whoa, I saw that photo of you butt naked. It's like, AI. You're like, oh, so you're not that well endowed? Actually, no, that wasn't AI. That was legit. That part was legit. Everything else was AI. I didn't actually do that. Oh, man. Anyway, guys, that is the show today. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I love you. Appreciate you. I will see you guys maybe tomorrow or maybe the next day. And Tom Cruise was not in the photo. But the Starfield thing, as we've said before, it's nuanced, right? It's hard to just like give an exact answer because each game is going to be different. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you, appreciate you, and I will see you guys next time, maybe tomorrow. And have a wonderful evening, day, wherever you are. See you guys next time. Laymen out.